So what does it feel like to have my house paid off? It actually feels a little bit of the same right now. Feels like, not a whole lot has changed. I can relate it to getting married. If you've been in a relationship for a while, and you've been developing these good habits to get yourself married, and then the day finally comes and you're excited and you're celebrating, but then afterwards people always ask you, so how does it feel? And then it feels like pretty much the same as it was before you got married, but then you did have that big sigh of relief that you have something off of your back and you can feel like you can move to the next step in your life. So I think I can relate it to that, where we're still developing and still retaining and maintaining those same habits, just with a big monkey off of our back, and now we can focus and motivate ourselves to move on to the next thing, which for us is retiring early.
It feels awesome. I had a lot of people asking me, why are you paying off your house? I thought a mortgage was good, and couldn't you invest that money elsewhere? And the response I always had to people was, well, you know what? Now nobody can take away our house, and that's what really kept me up at night. So I can actually sleep a lot better knowing that if something were to happen to my business or something were to happen to AJ's job, that we would be able to still afford our house with very little expense, and that feels awesome.
So the hardest part about this journey for me was I felt like I lost myself a little bit in it. I was really focused on getting this goal accomplished and restricting myself both financially and mentally. So I felt that I kind of didn't get an opportunity to explore certain aspects of my personal interests, like for example, wanting to get some professional certifications like Agile or project management certifications. It wasn't necessarily directly related to our goals at the time, but it'll benefit me in the future. And because of that, they weren't highly prioritized, so I had to hold off on those to be able to explore them after we finished our goal. And for another example would be, some real estate conferences or some digital marketing conferences that I wanted to attend. And I felt that, I couldn't take those opportunities only because, they would cost some extra money. We didn't have it budgeted. We were very focused on just getting on the track to pay off the house, basically. So the hardest part of the journey for me was essentially having to defer some of my own personal self-interest until later. But now with the goal accomplished, that I feel like the world is my oyster and I can go out and do what I want.
The hardest thing about paying off our house and this whole debt-free journey was having to say no to friends and family about things that were really important to me that I used to always say yes to. So I used to always be able to say yes to going out to dinners and going to fun vacations and being able to do things that I didn't think about before. And so perfect example, 3 years ago, I was asked to go to a bachelorette party that I painstakingly had to say no to, which was really tough because I was afraid it would impact our relationship and I was afraid I was going to miss out on something really fun. But 3 years later, now that we're completely debt-free, I went on a trip just this past weekend with the same group of girlfriends, and not only did we not skip a beat, but that vacation was so much more stress-free because I was able to pay for it in cash. I was able to go without having to ask for time off because I now work for myself, which I didn't 3 years ago. And I didn't have to shut down my business while I was away. I was still able to make money while I was on vacation because I have employees running my business. So the fact that we were able to do all of those things in just 3 years later makes such a big difference.
So now that we're debt-free, how has that impacted my outlook on my work? And I still do have my corporate job. I still work the 9 to 5 hours. But at the same time, it's different when I wake up in the morning. Obviously, there's no feeling of, oh, I need to go to work to make this every 2-week paycheck to make sure this house is paid for. I go to work, being more focused on either work or, developing myself at work. So that big weight off of my shoulders really gives me a different perspective. Even some of my coworkers and some of the team that I lead, they told me I'm more Zen-like. Just having a different perspective and being able to communicate it to my teams, that's kind of come out in our work effort, within our team, trying to raise the positivity. I've told people, what, I'm more confident in the decisions that I'm making because, it's not the end of the world. Like, if I get fired for making a really bad decision, then I'm confident enough to, say, hey, I can find, new opportunities, whether it's a corporate job or not. So I think it just kind of gives me a little bit more, flexibility and within, my decision making at work, and also more confidence that, I can take a little bit of some risks, more risks there without feeling like scared that I might lose my job and, lose my house, etc. So.
It is so different. So AJ has a regular 9-to-5 job and he knows when his paychecks are coming in. I have that entrepreneurial lifestyle where I have no idea when my next paycheck is going to come in. And that was really stressful when we were paying off this debt because I wanted so badly to be able to contribute as much as I could that all I really cared about was how much money I could make to come in through the door so that we could pay off that debt. But now that we're debt-free, I'm really excited to say that we're going to make some changes both within the dress business and my Crush This Debt business, and I'm able to do that because I can take so much more risk. I'm not stressed about how much money I'm making. And now I can really focus on the things that I love to do and how I can really help people versus just worrying about the income.
So I think now being completely debt-free and having the house paid off, the next natural step for me in terms of goals that I look forward to is really retiring early. And what that means is, saving enough money where I don't have to work at all and be able to live off of the savings or investments, and be able to not, worry about what kind of job that I need to have to get to that point. Whereas I can, be a yoga teacher if I want to, or be a real estate agent if I want to, and still be able to retire. So I'm really looking forward to being able to find a lot of those self-interests, that make me happy as a person, and be able to still, retire early as part of our goals instead of having to work, a corporate 9-to-5 job. Even just to retire early, you have to still do that. So I'm looking forward to being able to find another way to retire early that I enjoy every day.
So a lot of people ask us, now that we have our debt paid off, what is next? And the next thing we're looking towards is retirement, which is super scary, but also really exciting to think about. Wow, there might be a point where we don't have to work anymore, that we actually go to work because we want to. And we have a pretty aggressive goal of getting to that point in 10 years, meaning that we'll be in our early to mid 40s, because AJ's a little bit older than I am. And that's really exciting to think about, wow, what would our life look like if we didn't have to go to work every day? But it's a pretty aggressive goal. We learned doing the math that we have a pretty big gap right now, and so our focus is what can we do to hustle in the next 10 years to be able to make that goal so that one day we'll be able to say, you know what, I'm at work because I want to be here, not because I have to. There's a couple of other fun things. Aside from retiring early, I have a goal of going to Korea because I love K-pop and I love BTS, so I will, at some point in the next year, be in Korea and hopefully see them live in their own homeland, and I think that is something that is going to keep me pretty motivated for the next couple of months.
If I had to give off one piece of advice for anyone that is looking to be debt-free or pay off their house, I think we all hear, how to make more money and obviously save it. But the one facet of advice that I would like to employ is to really don't strain the relationships you have with your friends and family, and the new people you meet. So during this journey that we had, we met a lot of people who were like-minded. Some might be, from social networks or business or whatnot, and they're there to help support you. But at the end of the day, you had your friends and your family there throughout your whole life, and it's very difficult. We talked about in our podcast on how to explain to your friends and family what your goals are, and they might not agree, or they might challenge you. Hey, why don't you come here, go on this trip with us? They'll definitely force you out of that comfort zone again. And I would say is, even though you got to stick to your goal, make sure you go back to those friends and family, and mend that relationship if there was some strain there, or at least maintain that positive relationship. Because at the end of the day, when you're on a vacation island or have a vacation home in the mountains, who do you want to spend that free time that you've been working so hard for? Who do you want to spend it with? Is it going to be some random people that helped you through your journey, or is it the friends and family that you truly love, that kind of got you to where you were in the first place?
I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give to someone who wants to do the same thing is really to focus on your goals for you and your family, and try not to worry about what everyone else is doing. That was such a big piece of my journey, and always wanting to compare myself to other people and trying to keep up with the nice lifestyles that I saw other people have. And interestingly, the less I cared about what other people thought, the more compliments I got from other people about, wow, it's really great that you're trying to accomplish this goal and that you're doing something that's different from other people. So I guess the biggest thing I can say is, if you're worried about being different from other people, that's a good thing. That probably means that you're doing something pretty special.